The OnePlus 7T has to be the most impressive OnePlus phone of 2019. In fact, it is so feature-rich that it makes the more expensive OnePlus 7 Pro as well as the OnePlus 7T Pro pretty much redundant. So, stick with me as I explain why the OnePlus 7T might be the ideal Android phone for you. First up, the OnePlus 7T comes with a brand new design. That new cool blue color with that circular camera module makes it quite distinctive in my opinion. Granted, it's not the most original design as we've seen Motorola phones from the past follow the same design language, but it's still quite distinctive nonetheless. What is a bit disappointing though is that OnePlus has retained the water drop style notch on the 7T. So, from the front, the 7T looks exactly like 100 other mid-range Android phones out there in the market. In this case, a hole punch display or a truly bezel-less display would have really helped the OnePlus 7T stand out in the market. However, that notch aside, I really can't complain about the OnePlus 7T's display. It's a 6.55-inch Super AMOLED panel with a 90Hz refresh rate. So, everything appears to be a little bit faster than it actually is, which really elevates the user experience. The display's overall quality, brightness and color calibration is also quite good. The optical fingerprint scanner on the OnePlus 7T is also pretty fast and very dependable. Something worth mentioning is that the OnePlus 7T has a relatively tall aspect ratio of 20:9. So, gripping it in one hand is quite easy. Running the show here on the software front is OnePlus's custom Oxygen OS built on top of the latest Android 10. Now, I know that you've heard a lot about Oxygen OS and how good it is. And it's no exception on the OnePlus 7T. I won't go into deep details, but be assured that thanks to Oxygen OS, the OnePlus 7T is really fluid and it won't be exaggeration to say that it's one of the fastest Android phones you can buy in the market today. This great software, when combined with the flagship Snapdragon 855 Plus chipset and 8 GB of RAM, means that OnePlus 7T can take on heavy apps quite easily and it's a brilliant gaming phone too. OnePlus also has a very good track record of pushing timely Android updates to their phones and supporting their old phones for as long as 3 years. So basically, when it comes to software, OnePlus is better than most Android manufacturers out there. Coming on to those cameras. The triple camera setup on the 7T is almost the same as that on the OnePlus 7 Pro, which I reviewed earlier this year. However, there are three key differences. One, the primary 48 megapixel sensor can now also take some pretty nice macro photographs. Then, you can finally shoot videos with the ultra wide angle sensor. Previously, this was not possible. And finally, the telephoto camera has 2x zoom instead of 3x zoom on the Pro models. Talking of the camera performance, the primary 48 megapixel camera can take some really color accurate photographs and videos. As before, the stabilization in videos is particularly very impressive. But the camera algorithm can screw up a bit and give you some pretty inconsistent results too. This is especially true for the Nightscape night mode. In general, Nightscape gives you some pretty decent nighttime photographs, but sometimes the results are pretty underwhelming. Again, the results from the ultra-wide and telephoto cameras are pretty good. Just don't expect them to beat the iPhone 11 or the more expensive Samsung Galaxy phones, but for the average user, they are pretty nice. The color consistency between the primary and the ultra-wide angle camera is also quite even. The colors can appear a bit off on the telephoto camera, but mostly it's something that you're not going to notice. So, the cameras of the OnePlus 7T remain really competitive, but not flagship beating. But the only time you're going to be really critical of the camera performance is when if taking photos or filming videos is either your hobby or a part of your profession. Otherwise, for an average casual social media photographer, these cameras get the job done really well. Moving on. The 7T comes with a new improved fast charging standard. OnePlus calls it Warp Charge 30T. This charging took me from 37% to 76% in around 15 minutes, which indeed is mighty impressive. The 3800 mAh battery of the OnePlus 7T provides around 5 hours of screen on time on medium usage. But the problem is that with that super smooth 90Hz display and that powerful Snapdragon 855 Plus chipset, the OnePlus 7T is kind of targeted towards the higher end user or a heavy gamer. And for that kind of user, the battery life just isn't enough. Finally, starting at Rs 38,000, the OnePlus 7T is genuinely great value for money. In fact, if you're considering buying the more expensive 7T Pro, buy that phone only for the bigger and truly bezel-less display. Otherwise, the 7T has all the features of its bigger sibling at a much better price tag. Some of you might also argue that the recently launched Realme X2 Pro has all the features of the OnePlus 7T plus an even faster charging tech at a starting price of Rs 30,000. Now that is true, but keep in mind that Realme's Color OS is nowhere close to Oxygen OS, both in terms of smoothness and timely software updates. And in the long run, software updates matter a lot. It's really easy to get tempted to buy a phone which has great specs and a very low price tag. But if the software is not properly supported, down the line, the user experience is gonna be quite frustrating. And this is one area where the OnePlus 7T is pretty much sorted. Wrapping it up, the OnePlus 7T isn't just a great phone, but if industry-leading camera performance isn't really high on your priority list, then this might be the Android phone to buy right now.